Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Gridiron Review. Alongside Bill Wagner, I'm Pete Medhurst. Great to have you with us. Bill, we've been really lucky. We've been treated to some good early season matchups so far on the high school circuit, and a lot of questions starting to abound about some of these teams, but some of the answers we're getting are very familiar. Some of the familiar powers are starting to emerge. And let's start with what was clearly the game of the week last week. Old Mill, 10-play, 89-yard drive. Raheem Tull concludes the drive with a 16-yard touchdown run, and Old Mill takes advantage of a number of ball handling errors by Meade to win it 20-13. Based on that opening game where Old Mill got routed by North Point, nice bounce backs the last 2 weeks here by Chad McCormick's team.
Absolutely. Again, we're going to have to look at that North Point Old Mill game as a bit of an aberration, but Old Mill has come back and played Old Mill type of football, strong defense, run the ball, control the clock. Really, Meade should have won this game in many respects. They were in Old Mill territory 8 times, and they were stopped on 4th down 3 times, including at the 8 and 17-yard line. They had turnovers, which, give Old Mill credit for creating those turnovers. But, I mean, you're talking about 8 opportunities to score that they came up empty. So that was a huge difference. Meade's got to be kicking themselves, feeling that they let this one get away. But the final score is the final score, and that's a huge win early, because I do believe at the end of this season, Meade's going to be right up there among the best in the county.
Mustangs ran for 369 in the game, but again, you can't put the ball on the ground. That will kill you every time. Meanwhile, the other team that's really emerged here early, and certainly you can poke a hole at least in the teams they've beaten, but they've killed them. Broadneck 49-7 over Severna Park. Shane Davis throws for 352, runs one in himself, throws for 4 touchdowns. Bruins make some things happen on the defensive side as well. And this rivalry game, which sold over 3,000 seats pre-sale, Bill, was never a contest. Bruins led 21-0 after 1, and this game was over. Yeah,
first time in years that the Severna Park Broadneck game has been played under the lights. They had moved it to a Saturday afternoon over concerns about students getting a little too worked up. So it's good to see it back under the lights, and apparently everyone behaved themselves, which was nice. And Shane Davis, what a terrific performance. He was the player of the week in the Capitol this week. Coach Rob Harris said when he's on, he's as good as any quarterback he's had during his time at Broadneck. So, his older brother is at Navy. So Shane, maybe he is a college prospect as well, but very, on target. And, the only undefeated team in Anne Arundel County right now is Broadneck High School.
Yeah, Brent Floyd with the defensive touchdown for the Bruins as he recovered a fumble in the end zone as well. Arundel got a big touchdown pass from Ryan Sedgwick with under 2 minutes to go. They rallied to beat South River 27-26. And what we're seeing is, Bill, maybe outside of Old Mill, Meade, Broadneck, everybody else seems to be mired in a group all together there. Probably this win gives Arundel maybe that best of the best status. But right now, based on North Point's play, somebody here is going to get left out of the playoffs if you don't make a pretty good run starting right now.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's kind of a moral victory for South River, in my opinion. When's the last time that South River played Arundel that close? So I don't know if Arundel's a little bit down this year or if South River's improved, maybe a combination of the two. But, South River's got to be fairly pleased with that result. They played them tough, held them to a relatively low number on scoring, and so maybe South River is improved a bit over the past few seasons. Coach Dolch has now been there 3 years and maybe getting things turned around.
How about Chesapeake? Another big explosive win here for the Cougars, 41-7. Dylan Young throwing for 93 yards. Also with a touchdown, Tony Watkins performing well. 4 different guys catching touchdown passes, including Russell Tongue, the son of former South River star Russell Tongue. Really big performance again here by the Cougars.
Right, and the big game this week in terms of that level you were just speaking of, those teams in that mid-tier, Glen Burnie, Chesapeake, we were doing the prediction corner picks this week, and I was really struggling with that one. That is a real key game for the mid-tier. But Rob Elliott, Chesapeake's been a solid team, solid program ever since Rob Elliott took over. And they, you know you're going to get a game when you're running up against Chesapeake. And I'm really interested to see the result of this Chesapeake-Glen Burnie game coming up.
Southern, who had been putting up a bunch of points without winning first 2 games, loses 14-6 this week. Colin Phipps, the only touchdown in that game for the Bulldogs, who will take on South Carroll this coming week. Meanwhile, Northeast wins a shootout with North County by a count of 33-32. So that game certainly had to be worth your $5 if you paid for that one between those two
Northeast
teams.
is another team that has clearly improved. I mean, that program has gotten better, and they've won a few games already. The Northeast is looking much more solid this year.
Annapolis beats Glen Burnie by a score of 18-13 to get the Panthers on the board so far this year as well. And in the privates, St. Mary's with the win over Del Mar, one of the smallest schools on the East Coast in the state of Delaware, as St. Mary's gets the W there, 32-15. Spalding probably going to go back and look at this film against Good Counsel and go, what happened? They were up 21-0, losing.
It all
game.
fell apart.
Yeah, 37-21. Now, granted, Good Counsel's an unbelievable program. One of their great stars, Dorian O'Daniel, now starring for Clemson at linebacker, who had an interception return for a touchdown against Lamar Jackson and Louisville. It tells you the caliber of teams that you're talking about.
Good Counsel's been putting out big-time prospects for a while. Stephon Diggs, who's in the NFL now, that played at Maryland, he's a Good Counsel guy. I could go on and on about.
Playing pretty well for them.
But Spalding is a team at this point. They're a program that feels they should be able to compete with anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Good Counsel, line them up. Spalding feels they can beat those teams. How about Severn? 3-0.
Yeah, Craig Stevens with 4 touchdowns, also had 2 interceptions on the defensive side of the football as they beat St. Albans by a score of 33-6.
Dwayne Tyler is a first-year head coach, and he's doing a good job. They switched to the spread offense this year. They're spreading things out, and Stevens is a transfer from Glen Burnie, and so far he's doing a really good job. So I think Mandish, younger Mandish, his older brother,
had 3
I think.
touchdowns.
Yeah, Jacob Mandish is playing lacrosse at the Naval Academy, and this is his younger brother,
Joel,
that is had the big game receiving. So it looks like Severn with their spread offense, Coach Tyler doing a good job.
That is, Stanfield had an 84-yard punt return for AACS, but not enough as they fall to National Christian by a score of 21-16. Colleges this week, Maryland and Navy, both with big games. Navy in conference against Cincinnati. That'll be a 3:30 game in Annapolis. Bill and I will be there. Maryland hosting another American Conference team in UCF. It's going to be a dandy of a matchup between undefeated teams.
This is an important game for UCF. Last year, Maryland went down there to Orlando and won a tough game, pulled out a close victory. I know UCF has been pointing to this rematch. This is going to be a big game for Central Florida to show on behalf of the American Athletic Conference, beating a Big Ten team, because we had AAC had some nice wins this past
Memphis
week.
Over UCLA,
Memphis,
biggest one of all, 48-45. South Florida drilled Illinois from the Big Ten, 47-21.
Right, these matchups mean something with Mike Oresco's Power 6 mantra.
Well, he's got to do something about the eastern side of that league, though, and UCF, one of the few teams on the east side that is really, really good. Meanwhile, the pros, Redskins go to L.A., get a victory, 27-20. Kirk Cousins hits Ryan Grant for the game-winning score in the corner of the end zone. And the Ravens defense, Bill, we've talked about them in every show here. The Ravens defense is good enough to take them a long way here, and the offense just doesn't have to lose the game. That's exactly what happened last week in a 24-10 victory over the Cleveland Browns.
A very costly victory as Marshall Yanda is lost for the year, the outstanding offensive guard, maybe one of the best guards in all of football and a big team leader for the Ravens. Losing Yanda, it hurts that it's not a good offensive line to begin with. And really, there's only one quality offensive lineman on that line anymore, Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle. So it'd be interesting to see how the Ravens progress. But yes, the defense is going to carry them a long way. Terrell Suggs has been rejuvenated, completely recovered from that, torn bicep that he had, and is really playing.
He's had bicep, Achilles.
Yeah, he's had a bunch of stuff.
It's like the bionic man being held together now.
But he looks great this year. He is really causing disruption. They've got some young defensive players that are. Tyus Bowser, our friend from Houston, he's a good one. Their secondary is much improved with the pickups that they had on the offseason. So, yeah, Justin Tucker and the defense. That's the formula for the Ravens. But your Redskins, I was watching Chris Thompson with that beautiful breakaway run. You know who he reminded me of? Joe Washington.
Yeah.
As I watched that run,
the same number.
I saw, man, it looks like Joe Washington. Love Chris Thompson. He is a good one. Redskins, that was a big win for the Redskins.
61 yards on the draw play. Could have had another one. He's wide open across the middle, had a ball go off his hands, but Redskins end up winning it 27-20 in that one. They've got a big game with the Oakland Raiders this coming Sunday night, while the Ravens are headed to London to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jolly old England, good luck there. Jaguars really up and
What's
down.
that, a 9 a.m. start?
9:30. So if you're a Ravens fan, you got to get up early.
Yeah.
Tailgate in your backyard.
Bloody Marys,
for that
baby.
one. That'll do it for this week's show. As always, we appreciate you joining us. We'll be back again next week with another edition. Oh, by the way, want to point out, big game in the Varsity U this week on the Anne Arundel County youth scene. Undefeated Pasadena Chargers, undefeated Andover Apaches. It's going to be a big one in the Varsity U category. Go to AnneArundelCounty.org, aacounty.org, and get on the Recreation and Parks page. Go to Team Schedules to find out all the information for this week's slate of youth football games. That'll do it for us. For Bill Wagner, I'm Pete Medhurst. We'll see you next week on the Gridiron Review.